in this video, I'm going to give you some guidance on how to create a really good and detailed phone stand for your Year 8 project. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is find where your teacher has sent you the template for the phone stand. Okay, and it should look something like this. Now remember that unlike Microsoft Office applications, 2D design doesn't automatically save your work. So the first thing you want to do as soon as you open it is make sure that you go to File, Save As, and then choose a suitable location, preferably somewhere in your OneDrive where you'll be able to come back to it next lesson. Okay, and regularly pause at regular intervals to come back and save and update your work. Okay, so it will look something like this, and the most key element is to consider in your design where the aluminium frame will go. Okay, quite often students will put elements on the front here, okay, later forgetting that actually their aluminium phone holder will go on top of it, obscuring their beautiful design work. Okay, now you may want this to be the back of your design, in which case that's fine, but just think about what you want it to look like afterwards. Okay, now to start with, I'm just going to move this down here to the bottom just to give me a bit more room. Okay, now there are three colours that we need to consider. We've got red, black, and blue. Okay, if I'll just update it as we go along. Okay, now red is the one that we need most. Okay, red tells the laser cutter to cut. Okay, quite simply, that's the obvious one. Now black tells the laser cutter to not cut all the way through, but just to engrave the surface. Okay, and then blue, like we can see here, is just a very faint score line. Okay, and that'll be helpful later on for you when you come to line bend your acrylic sheet. Okay, so we'll just leave that in the corner just so we can remember to update our colours as we go along. All right. Now there's a few different approaches that you can take to this, so please refer back to your previous design ideas to help you in this process. Okay, but I'm going to show you three main approaches which students might choose to take. Okay, now the first one is to simply have some shapes which you can then cut out. So for example, here's one I found earlier. I'm going to right click, copy image, Control V to paste it in here. Okay, and again, remember that unlike other applications, you don't click, hold and drag. You need to click, let go, and then you can drag your shape to resize. Okay, just for ease and so you can see it as well, I'm going to keep it a bit bigger for this example. Okay, now again, at the moment, black means to engrave, and we want it to be just an outline shape which can be cut out. Okay, so we need to convert this to a line drawing. To do that, we've got two main steps. The first one, we come up to bitmaps, set to black and white silhouette, and set background transparent. Again, we need to reselect our asset, come back to bitmaps, this time contour bitmap, change our spacing to 0, press OK. And the final detail, change our cursor back to the black select arrow, move the stegosaurus that we don't want off, and delete that. Okay, now because we want this shape to be cut out, maybe we want to stick it behind our shape afterwards, we just need to come up here to the color button and change it to red. Okay, and use this as your size guide. Just consider how you want it placed once it's finished and the size you want the piece to be cut out afterwards. Okay, if you need to, pause the video now so you can try to practice that for yourself. Alright, the second thing we're going to do is similar again, but this time we're going to use a slightly tricky image like this one here. Now you'll see at the bottom we've got some elements that we don't actually want, okay, but it's quite easy to rectify that. Again, we're going to find an image, copy and paste, and let's just resize it, we can see a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to resize it just down here for the moment. So as before, come back to bitmaps, set to our silhouette, make the background transparent, and again reselect it, come back to bitmaps, contour out bitmap, set it to 0, and move the one that we want to keep up there, and move the one we won't, we can delete. Okay, now what we're going to do with this now is explode it. Okay, to explode means essentially to take it apart into all of its component features. Okay, now two ways you can access it. You can either come to edit and explode, Well, the much quicker way is our keyboard shortcut, which is Control E. And then press continue. Now when we select our different parts, you can see that they've all separated. So of course we don't want this bottom bit, we can click and drag everything that we don't want and press the delete icon. And again, remembering our last detail to change it to red. Now, one thing we might want to do is also maybe do some engraving as well. Okay, so let's try it with this sample image of an orange here. Let's just remove that for a second and paste this one here in. Let's move it about there. Okay, so what we want is this shape cut out, okay, in a nice semicircle, but we want this bit to be engraved in the middle. Okay, so it's similar to the first part we do as above. We're going to come to bitmaps, set to black and white silhouette, make our background transparent, and again we want to contour our bitmap. But remember, and you'll recall this from geography, a contour is a line which follows a path, okay, around a certain edge. Okay, so what we can do when we come to contour our bitmap is actually change the spacing to perhaps 2, 3, even 4 millimeters, and that will offset from the edge how far our line can be drawn. So let's put it to 4 millimeters, and this now adds a contour right around the edge. Okay, so if we change our contour line to red, but keep the inner to black, okay, it'll cut out our shape. Okay, now again, just be careful, it's highlighted here, we've got some gaps in the middle, so as we demonstrated before, you might want to explode this and just delete these smaller parts inside. Now the final feature is maybe to actually make some changes to the phone holder template itself. Okay, let's, for example, come back to our dinosaur image from before. Let's use our Stegosaurus. In fact, let's use the one we've got here. Okay. Now, say for example, rather than sticking it behind, I want it to actually form a part of the shape, so it follows one continuous line. Okay. So in fact, let's move this down a little bit just to resize it. Let's say I want it to look something like, maybe let's make it a little bit smaller. Something a little bit like this. Okay. Now remember the principle of the way that the latest cutter works is that it follows and cuts every single line. So if this were to be cut out, we'd end up with 1, 2, 3 different pieces. Okay, and that's not what we want. We want it to be one nice shape. So essentially we need to work out how to delete these shapes here. Okay, let's move it slightly to one side. Okay, now the way we do that is come over here to our delete key. If we press and hold and come to the second one along, okay, which is to delete an object between two intersections. An intersection is essentially just anywhere where two lines meet. Okay, so for example, if we click this one here, it's going to remove everything from here, our intersection, to up here. Let's try that. Fantastic. Okay, so consider how we want the path to follow. So we want it to come up here and turn left and cut around here. So let's get rid of everything in the middle like here. And just be careful. If you need to zoom in, you can use your zoom tools on the right hand side. Oh, remember, if you do make a mistake, that's absolutely fine. You can go edit, undo, or your keyboard shortcut, Control Z. But remember, in 2D design, you can only go back one step. So just be careful with that. Okay, so I'm going to come back to my delete tool. Just get rid of these little parts here. In fact, what I'm going to do now is just select all of them that I don't want and press delete. In fact, we've got one tiny little part there. Okay, there we go. So now our shape will follow one nice path. In fact, let's neaten it up a little bit, get rid of that tiny bit on the end there. That's much better. Okay, that's much better now. So the laser cutter will come up here. We've got no interference in the middle, and it will follow this nice shape all around the outside. Similarly, we've got this part here, which will be cut out, but the black bit will be engraved. Please do just check with your teacher, because any areas which are black take a phenomenally long time for the laser cutter to draw, okay? Essentially, it's colouring it in with the tip of a needle, so it takes a very, very long time. Okay, so just be careful when you are engraving, okay? And as I mentioned before, at regular intervals, please remember to hit the save icon and save your work. Hope this has been helpful. If you need to go back and pause at any intervals to just go over something we've covered, please do so now.